Please be advised that in order to foster quality discussions in each episode, we will spoil the stories in each game and text we talk about. Good news is, 90% of the titles we cover are old enough that many of you might already know all about them. That said, we do encourage you to play and read before listening.
Listen up now, when you leave on, get ready for Arcade Bookshop. Read your book, play a game, check it out. Don't be lame, listen up now, when you leave on, get ready for Arcade Bookshop.
So we had a hell of a time meeting up for this one. Caleb just didn't want to sit down, couldn't make time.
I'm a busy guy.
He couldn't make time for this business that we've developed together, that we've sprung up from the ground. He couldn't make time.
I'm sorry that I
for
have
it.
more important things to do than play stupid video games.
He just finished the game of the day today.
Like 20 minutes before you said, hey, let's record this episode.
It's getting outlandish how difficult it is for us to coordinate properly on this endeavor.
To be fair, I was ready to record this on Monday, even though I only finished half of the game because I didn't even want to finish the game.
It's true. I had something come up. But we're here now, and before we introduce the show, and before I say what game we're talking about today, which you can already tell because it's in the title of the podcast.
So stupid.
Before I say all of those things that are
You already said them.
required, obligatory for the introduction of a show, I just want to go down this list of texts that Caleb has sent me in regards to this game.
Should you give a warning to the young listeners?
This is already marked explicit, so everybody
Okay.
should know. At least it should be. Number 1. How long is this fucking boat ride? Number 2. This is fucking terrible. I hate it so much.
That was just on the boat ride.
I've been on this boat for 10 minutes. OMG. Is there a run button? I don't know how you played this. I don't know what number we're on now.
Okay.
But the next one is, there's no way I can play this. It's like playing as an NPC.
It is. I hated that part.
It
which is the whole
is
game.
terrible, and I want my $2 back. I've never had such a visceral reaction to a game before. We're not done yet.
Oh.
I think this game actually hits some part of my brain that pisses me off instantly. Like how some people get irate when people chew with their mouths open. It's like that. And the follow-up, I'll try to play it, but I might have to get drunk.
Yeah.
And fucking whore of a game. Blah,
That was a
blah.
nice touch, I think.
Blah, blah, blah. I'm on a gay-ass boat. Blah, blah, blah. Eat shit cookies. Ooh, here's a radio. Turn the knobs and jam it up your clam hole.
Was that all from the same night?
Yeah, it was the same, minute.
What was happening?
I think here's the conclusion, or the finale. She walks around like she has rheumatoid arthritis. And with that,
I will say this. After having finished the game, my opinions on the gameplay have not softened at all. She does walk around like she has rheumatoid arthritis.
it does
And
make
then
it
for
a
some
little
reason, you're always climbing a fucking mountain. And then because I'm playing on my laptop, the game kept lagging on the mountain, and it was even taking extra long. We'll get to it, but I was so mad.
Welcome to Arcade Bookshop, where we talk about video games and their literary counterparts for all of you who love to play and to read. I'm Bryce Yoli, and as always, I'm here with my pal and cousin-in-law, Caleb James, to talk about a more recent game that some of you might be familiar with called Oxenfree. So, the reason we chose this game...
The reason you chose this
was
game...
because Caleb said, this looks like a fun game.
No, you picked the game, and then I said, oh, okay, I just watched the trailer. That was my mistake.
And he was so happy to say, yeah, that looks fun. Let's play it.
Yep, I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed when I went into this.
I was listening to another gaming podcast where they were talking about Oxenfree 2 because that just came out, I think, like early July or something like that. So I wanted to look into it because they raved about both of them. And then when I looked it up, Oxenfree 1 was only $2 on both Steam and Nintendo Online.
A steal that is.
Nintendo Store. It was a steal.
Yeah. It stole my time and my dignity.
But we both got a cheap little video game fix.
Okay.
I mean, I know you're happy that we chose it, but what do you have to say about it?
What do I have to say about it, Bryce? Ah, damn it. Well, I will say this. Aesthetically, the game looks great. I like the graphics. I like the music. It has a great, like the voice actors do an amazing job, I think. The story's even kind of interesting. I liked all the weird stuff that happens. But for me, and this is just a personal opinion, the gameplay was fucking excruciating. And here's why, Bryce.
Okay.
Now, and for you listeners, you might like this game. I looked into it, and apparently a lot of people love this game. There's the whole Steam community behind it. I don't know if it was just because I played this on my laptop. I don't have a mouse either, so I'm using the stupid little, finger doodad. The game was just insufferable with how long it took to walk places. And if you had it on like PS4 or Xbox, maybe with a controller, it'd be a little more enjoyable. But there's these dialogue boxes, which is the whole game. Like I said, or you said in the intro, quoting me, it's like being an NPC. It's like, yeah, you're there, but you're just picking stuff at random. And so you go into this stupid game, and you're on this dumbass boat ride forever. And before we even go into the synopsis or anything, it's like walking back and forth, trying to figure out what to do. And it's just a lot of talking, which reminds me of like the shows my wife watches where it's a lot of drama and people arguing. And I hate that stuff so much. So I'm not a fan of that. But going back to the stupid controls, it was pissing me off, and we'll get into that as well. But the main thing for me that killed this game was there is no free will. None. It's strange because it's a game about making choices, and your choices have consequences. Yet from the very get-go, not only are you aware that there's going to be no free will because you're in these time loops in this game. So no matter what happens, you're always just going to, go back and have to do things over. But even the set paths, because it's like kind of point and click, at least on a laptop, you can point somewhere and click and they'll just walk to that spot. Everything is like being on a roller coaster. It's a track that you just have to follow, and you can't lose this game. There's no dying. There's no wrong choices. You can't lose. So there's no real actual consequences because you could just play it again. And it was just really irritating because it's like, I could play this, and I did. The first half of this game, most of the dialogue boxes, I didn't pick anything. I just let it play. And it changed nothing. Like, you could complete this game without paying attention to it. Like, the very minimal amount of attention needed to get through the game. And that's like it. It doesn't matter. You can just play it and beat the game without paying very much attention at all. That's not a game. That's stupid.
Yeah. Well, I would agree. As much as I've been chastising you, I don't disagree. I had fun with the story in general, because I mean, the whole point of this podcast is to talk about video game stories, and I guess
the story was cool.
Yeah, like the annoying thing about this is that it's just a story. It's not, like you said,
very cliched story. Like the main story is cool, but the side stories are very cliched.
Yeah, and yeah, the first playthrough, I was just trying to get through it and understand what I'm doing, and then my second playthrough, because this game is only like 3 or 4 hours long, my second playthrough, I found myself trying to like go. Like, I wanted to like find the few items there are to find in the game, and I tried to go back a frame that didn't play along with where the story was, and you can't. There's a degree that you can, like you if you're at certain points, you can move around and just travel the map. Because I did that a little bit on my first playthrough, but the second time through, I just wanted to go back to. I was curious to see if there's anything in, the character Maggie Adler's or whatever her name is, her house. So I tried to go back there, and you just can't. And yeah, it's like it's like a side scroller on rails, which is very not typical.
No free roaming at all.
No, I didn't even think about the fact that you can't die. That's true. There like literally is no point. I
tried so hard to die. I tried making wrong decisions to kill people, and nothing. Like, people died, and I got excited, and then they came back every fucking time. And there's achievements you can unlock. Like, I jumped across a mountain, and I was like, oh, I didn't even mean to. I was just fucking in a hurry, and there was a big gap, and I was like, I'm just gonna click, because one part of the controls that is cool with this kind of game, you could just click far off in the distance, and the character will walk while you play on your phone and wait 20 minutes for him to walk across the screen. Well, I did that on a mountain, and there was a huge gap, and she just jumped it, and I was like, oh, I was hoping she would fall, or like walk around the mountain. She just jumped it, and it was like, oh, big gap achieved, and it made a cutscene or something. I was like, oh, that's cool. Not a cutscene. This game doesn't have those, but like a dialogue thing came up, and I kept skipping those too. I would just leave the screen, and then like I made the game glitch a bunch of times doing that because I just wouldn't listen to people or answer them. I would just leave. I was like fucking it up.
I did that on my second playthrough because like I get the gist already. I don't need to listen to all that shit.
Yeah, too much repeating.
I don't think there are achievements in the Switch version of it. So
it's probably just the Steam community version.
Yeah. I did jump across that thing though, but
aren't you neat?
I don't know, it was faster that way.
It was faster.
But
I was hoping she was gonna fall.
Before we get too much into the mechanics,
I will say one more thing. The atmosphere was creepy and foreboding at times. And like, I really liked the memory flashbacks. I thought those were cool. But if this game was more, not even a sandbox game, just like, even like you said, how a side scrolling game, normally you can, well, it depends. I guess side scrolling, you're stuck on a track too, really. You go up or down. But
I don't know. Even like, I think even on like Mario games, like platformers, you can still go all the way back to the beginning if you want.
This game felt very claustrophobic in that you can't really go, there's no out of bounds or anything. Like, you're just on a little trail and you're stuck on that trail. And you can only go in either direction that it allows you.
Yeah. And I don't get that. Well, before we go too far into that, the synopsis of this game is that there's a group of friends. They go to this island for their annual beach hangout. I think they're like high school seniors. They bring this radio, I think a transistor radio, because there are monuments around this island because it's historical, and they give off radio signals to tune into to learn about the monuments and the history behind them and all that. But they soon find out that tuning into some other radio signals around the island, particularly when these little stacks of rocks show up around the paths, when they tune into those, it starts to open a rift that allows some supernatural interactions to ensue, and the story unfolds from there. And I think the story itself is interesting because you learn a lot about the history of the island and like the one woman who lives on the island. You learn about this like submarine or something that something happened to it and all the people on it died or vanished. I don't know if it's very clear on that. You learn that, and this is where the spoiler introduction comes in, but you learn that this woman on the island originally was the first one to open the rift on that island and interact with the supernatural like other side. So basically the point of the game is with your group of friends to figure out what's going on with these supernatural occurrences and these rifts, and you try to figure out how to communicate with whatever's talking to them through these rifts and what the radio has to do with it, and how to appease these like ghost things and escape the island ultimately. So it's very weird. When they open the rifts, there are these little like it's kind of silly because every time you can use the radio, there's a hovering little yellow triangle in the air, and they even refer to them. They're like, "What's that triangle doing up there?" Because sometimes there's just triangles hovering in the sky, little yellow triangles.
Makes sense.
And then when they tune into the specific station, you just kind of like roll the dial, and when you get to the right station, the right signal, it starts to vibrate, and then a line shoots out from the triangle, and then it creates another triangle, and then you tune to another station, and a line shoots out to another triangle, and eventually it makes one big triangle and one big rift.
Or if you're like Caleb, you sit there and struggle to find the stupid station and going back and forth on the dumb knob, and then the fucking side character that's with you is sitting there bitching the whole time. Come on, hurry, open it up, hurry, get this, and then just over and over, and it's just this pressure, and it's annoying. I just want to shut him up. I tried to kill that guy a bunch of times, and he wouldn't die. And then I ended up with the only ending where apparently he's not your friend anymore.
That would happen for you.
Only 15% of the community got that ending, and I was one of them. That's what it told me.
Yeah, apparently the big thing of this game is that in order to actually get all of the story, you have to play the game 3 times. And
Yay.
It's not like the worst in the world because it's only like a 3 or 4 hour game and you're just walking around answering questions and shit. But like we were talking about already, it is like grueling because all you're doing is walking around and answering questions.
Walking very slowly.
Yeah, and then sometimes she runs and you're like, oh, thank God. And then most of the time, she's not. She's just taking her time.
Very slowly.
So it gets very frustrating.
I hate it so much. Oh, it's so annoying.
And like you were talking about how there's no free will and doesn't matter how you answer the questions. It always makes me, these kind of games, I've never understood. Like even games like, and I had never played this, but I think it was called Heavy Rain or something like that. You remember that? It was
sounds kind of familiar.
I think it was an early PlayStation 3 game. I don't know anything about it, but from what I watched of it, the graphics looked really cool and the story seemed cool, but all the gameplay was just like pressing triangle or like choosing responses. And I don't understand those games. Even if there are alternate outcomes, it's not fun to me. Like especially if I'm spending $60 on a video game, like I want to be playing a game, not like answering riddles. Like
it's almost like if you had a choose your own adventure book, but instead of choosing your own adventure, it's just pick the dialogue that you want to reply to a question with, and then it just leads to. I have a feeling it doesn't change. It can't change that much because a lot of the time, if you don't, which I've done a lot too, if you don't answer fast enough, you just don't answer. So did it even matter? I don't know. I don't think so.
And sometimes it's also annoying because they only record the dialogue one way for each answer. So like my first playthrough, I was like really nice and sensitive the whole time. I chose all the nice answers, and the second playthrough, I was like a real person. So I was like shitty sometimes, but nice some other times. But then like the intonation of the voice didn't match up between like if you went back and forth, like she'd say something shitty and then she'd be like, "Oh, come on, guys!" Like, I was like,
also
so
there was
unnatural.
times where it looked like it was like the nice thing to say, and then she just sounded shitty. Like, so you don't really know.
Yeah, that too.
She just had an attitude. She was just so angsty, and I was like, "Oh fuck!" I didn't like her at all. I was hoping. I mean, you can get her stuck in the void, which I tried to do, and I was real happy when I got to like some void. But then she got out of it. I was like, "Oh,
wait."
I mean, ultimately, from my understanding, big spoiler alert. I think this game technically ends where she's always in this loop. Like the main character, Alex, is just continuously in this loop. So I don't think she ever actually gets out. The others
really?
might, but I don't think she does.
See, well, neither of us played all 3 times. So Caleb only played once. I played twice, and it's really annoying. I played twice, but when you when you play through the first time, after the credits, it says like continue timeline. And if you hit continue timeline right away, you start playing again, but your answers are a little bit different. Like she responds a little bit differently because she remembers this whole thing. She like has deja vu almost the whole second playthrough. So it's a little bit different. But my first playthrough, I finished it and then I put it down. And then when I picked it back up, the continue timeline option wasn't there anymore. So there's like a glitch there. So if you don't choose it right away, you have to play the whole fucking game over again just to play it again, just to play the second playthrough. So my actual second run that counts towards my progress is gonna actually be my third time playing this godforsaken game. So I don't know if you looked it up. I don't know what happens after you beat it the third time. I'm surprised that it's just an endless loop.
I think you just try to get a different ending every time and try to get all the letters and dumb shit. I don't think it really matters.
That's another part of the game. You like
nothing matters anymore.
The woman who lives on the island, she has for some reason you walk through the whole entire map. And then after you get to her house, I think, you start walking through it again, and these letters show up out of nowhere.
Did you read any of the letters?
Yeah.
I did not. I didn't read a single one. I got like all of them or a bunch of them. I didn't read any of them. I just kept clicking out. I didn't even listen to the dialogue that went with them.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's just
something about her lesbian lover or something. I don't know.
Oh,
Annie or Anna.
Probably. I actually didn't even make that connection, but that's probably true.
Well, you obviously you probably didn't get the Morse code on the radio then.
What?
The radio from the very beginning, there's a station, you just hear Morse code.
Yeah.
And if you crack it, it's like the lady Annie or Anna or whatever her name is. And I think she's saying like, oh, I love you or something along those lines. And there's a whole bunch that goes on throughout the game, I think, of different dialogue. And eventually, though, she's like saying, oh, I love you, but she forgets her name. So it's pretty much implying that she's also stuck with the ghost people and she never gets out. But I guess if you're there long enough, you lose your humanity or just your memories. I don't know.
Right. So,
but there's like you can crack Morse code. There's like little secrets like that in the game, which is kind of cool.
So did you crack it, or did you just find that on the internet?
I just found that on the internet. I'm not putting in the time to crack Morse code on that. Every time I came to that station, I was like, "This is fucking annoying." Like I knew what it was, but I was like, "I'm not cracking." That's why I looked it up. I was like, "Why is there Morse code? What are they telling me? Do I need?" Because I was like, "Do I need this?" There was also a part where you get a code for a chest. And I was like, oh, am I going to have to memorize this? Luckily, I didn't because I forgot it immediately.
Yeah, so, like, and it just brings us back to, like, the charming quality of the game is that there's so much lore in it. And it is interesting if you're patient enough for it. But if you put all this cool lore and this great story into a game that's not fun, it's not very good. It's just frustrating.
Can I bitch about the controls?
Probably a little bit, but what else?
I just wanted to bitch about the controls because that's what infuriated me the most.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I was playing on my laptop without a mouse, and even if I had the mouse, I don't think it would help. But I was using just the arrows on my keyboard, and I'm running and doing all this stuff, and I couldn't even count the amount of times where somebody asked me a question, and I accidentally hit the space bar, and it put a random click where she just runs off mid-conversation, and then I get the dialogue, and I miss clicking the dialogue, and it goes away. And I just saw there's a bunch of dialogue where I just didn't say anything because I missed it. Like I misclicked it. That was pissing me off. And then also what was really, really annoying was, and I know you got this one. How do you time the fucking dialogue? Because somebody will be saying something. And then if you click the dialogue, sometimes she just interrupts them. She just blurts in whatever she's saying. I'm like, well, I wanted to know what they were saying. Like,
yeah, I did that especially on my second time through because I was in a hurry to play through it again because I knew it already. But yeah, it doesn't hold back. Like occasionally it'll like stop the one line of dialogue so you can hear the other thing, and then it'll cut back to it. But sometimes it plays them all at once, and I think sometimes she's saying two things at one time. I swear, and on top of what the other person is saying. And it's like, don't these people know how to communicate like human beings?
Well, also, if you are in dialogue and click on like a door or an obstacle that has a little circle on it or something, she'll just either cut them off and start talking, or what happened to me is I had a glitch out where all of a sudden they're in a conversation. I'm like, I don't care about this. And I try to leave, and then it's like the door's locked. So she starts talking, but the other person's still having a conversation. And then it's just like 4 voices for the 2 voices like merge, and it sounds like shit. And then all of a sudden I got thrown into a flashback scene and the other voices were still talking. And then I incorporated 2 more voices. So I had the protagonist talking in 3 different, like at different times. And then I had the other guys talking. I was like, what is happening? I couldn't even understand. I couldn't follow anything. I'm trying to click dialogue. There's like too many dialogue boxes. I thought I broke it. And then a couple times it like during the save screen, because it had loading screens for me anyway. Sometimes it was like it froze, and I was like, oh no. Well, I'm not playing this again. And then it always fucking kicked back in. But I was like, damn, it's taking forever.
Mine never froze. The load screens were really long though, and I was like, this game's not that complex. This is 2023.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like old Resident Evil game or something loading screens. It's taking forever.
Jesus Christ. So long and not worth the wait. And like, don't get us wrong. Like, if you want to play this, it's playable. It's just, and the story is a little bit worth it. Because it's, aside from the fact that it's like a very teenager story, like a high school drama.
Yeah,
like
high school angst.
Yeah, aside from that, and aside from it being like a haunting story, I've never seen this angle before, really. I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe in ways, but I guess I've never seen anybody like use a radio to open a rift. It sounds silly, but I thought it was interesting.
All that stuff was cool. Like the main story, like just the characters' individual stories were just very cliched, but the actual main story of like the submarine that sank or disappeared, and I think it was like 90-something crew members died, and then they're like ghosts, but it's not really that they're ghosts. I think they're just trapped in a loop themselves, and some kind of geometry. Everything it's like a trigonometry horror game.
Yeah, I meant to do research, but I totally forgot on it because I wanted to see if it was trying to make like a sacred geometry point.
Maybe.
Because there was also this weird thing, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but did you get this line of dialogue where they were talking about religion?
I don't think so.
It was so weird, and it seemed like out of nowhere. It was one of those things. All right, so everybody knows, let's talk the character names. The main character's name is Alex, right?
Yes, and she is a blue-haired girl.
Yeah, and her stepbrother, her brand new stepbrother's name is Jonas. Her best friend's name is Ren. That's a guy, and then
Ren is the stoner.
Yeah.
Jonas is the dunderhead.
Dunderhead?
Yeah, he's a dumbass.
Okay, yeah, he's like a hipster.
Then you have
But he's an
Clarissa, which is the snotty girl that hates the protagonist, and then there's Nona, who is just a stranger, I think, to Alex, and Ren has a crush on her.
Yeah. So it's one of those points where Alex and Jonas, the dialogue is totally random sometimes. So like you change screens after loading screen, and then Jonas just starts saying something. And he starts saying something about religion somehow. I don't know if it's like going to church or something, or like something his mom used to say about it. Something like that. And in the game, his mom is dead, right?
Yeah, because I had this big scene where he thinks he's talking to the ghost of his mom, and it's very obvious you're supposed to get him away from the ghost. Like, you're like, oh, no, just come, we're leaving. Don't talk to that. That's bad. It's going to kill you. I did all the opposite. I tried to get him killed real hard, and he does disappear, and I was really excited. I was like, I got rid of the dunderhead.
Is that when
he fucking comes back? Everybody comes back.
Is that when the song starts playing on the radio?
Yeah, and you're supposed to tune into it.
And it sounds like his mom is singing on it or something.
Yeah, but like all the dialogue, most of it's like, no, say no, take him away.
I think he always disappears at that point.
Probably.
Because he both the times I played it, he did that.
Well, I purposely tried to get him eaten by a ghost, so did not succeed. I tried to get somebody to drown. I tried to do so many things, and nothing worked the way I wanted.
Yeah, so it plays out. However, I mean, there's probably some weird permutation of combination of responses that actually make things change. But in general, it's just the same story over and over again. But
there was also a fucking mini game that pissed me off to no end, where this possessed, I guess Jonas gets possessed, or one of the characters, and you're supposed to find an item in this house real quick, and they start counting from 10 to 1, and then you have to find the item. But I couldn't hear what the fuck the person was saying half the time, so I missed like the first two. I was like, this is really annoying.
Serious?
And then the thing like flipped upside down because I was forget what I was doing. I don't think I had my headphones in, and there was like just background noise or something going on, and I didn't hear the first thing. I was like, "Oh shit! What's she count? What am I looking for?" And then like the second one, I didn't hear a word, and then I don't know, I just got annoyed.
On that one, I found them all. There's another mini game too, where you're like in a school or something. You remember that one, right? You got that one.
I don't think I played that one.
Oh, really?
The Hangman, yeah.
So
The Hangman, I missed the first one on that one too. Because he asked what the name of the school was, and I misclicked, and I was like, "Oh,
I got it. I actually got it wrong the first time I did it.
I got all the other
remembered it
ones
the
right."
second time. I think I got them. No, I still missed one my second time. I don't know which one. It must have been the third one.
Then they would flip it upside down, and you had
Yeah,
to read
that
upside
effed
down.
me up.
That annoyed me.
Yeah.
Stupid, dumb, glitchy game.
It's like you don't even care about these details, and then they're trying to quiz you on it, and like, yeah, it's just like the ghosts
quizzing me on
the
the game lore that I didn't pay any attention to.
yeah,
I
exactly.
skipped all the dialogue that I could.
But like the religion thing, they were like he randomly starts talking about this, and then I just found it weird and pointless. I guess there's always some kind of point in bringing up religion in a haunting story, I guess. But he was talking about that stuff, and he was like, how do you feel about that? And Alex was just like, I don't know. I don't really know anything about religion, Jonas, or something like that. And I was like, why are you being so what? And it's just like a big example to me of the state of the world right now. And I don't care what you believe. It's just weird that I don't know. It's weird to me that it's such a thing to not be religious now, where it used to be like just everyone.
It used to be the opposite. It used to be if you weren't religious, you were the weird one.
Yeah, or just like everyone do your own thing, and like I know some people are religious and that it exists, and that there's spirituality. Some people are spiritual instead of like religious. Like there's like awareness around it. And then, but it just like grossed me out the way she responded. It was like, I don't know. I don't know anything about that. Like,
what do you mean?
It was so stupid. And
why are you even talking to me right now?
And it's like, I mean, she wasn't actually like shitty like that, but it still had
she was
that like
sometimes during the game.
Yeah,
though.
she was. It still had that like angst around it. And I was like, it's just off-putting. And that's just like an example of how adolescent this game is. But that aside, I kind of want to talk about the people who died, because that was probably the most interesting part. I mean, that's the whole point of the story, really. But I found it was the most interesting thing, because you find out that what's haunting you is this actually goes into play with the religion, actually, if I can make a point. But what's haunting you isn't actually like ghosts of dead people per se. You find out that it's more like these people that were on the submarine. Something happened to them. I think Maggie Adler opened the rift, and it affected that whole submarine or something like that. Is that what you?
I thought Maggie Adler was trying to save the day because they were already stuck in something. Maybe I don't remember, because I barely paid attention to that awful game, Bryce.
Yeah, maybe that's the case. I don't know, but in any case, somehow something happened to those people, and the history of it in the lore of it is that they all died. But when you're into Maggie Adler's notes in her house, you get the impression that they didn't actually die. They more like vanished and potentially like went across to this other realm or something like that. And in this other realm, it's not like an alternate universe like some stories go. It's more like a film around the universe, and if you want to look at it that way. And if you're stuck in that film, you just degrade and degrade and degrade until all that's left is your anger. Right?
Well, my game, at the end, there was a part where I was talking to the ghost, and I picked the selection, why don't you just move on or something? And the ghost responded that it's scary and there's just an endless void. And then they asked, well, how you wouldn't know anything about that. Have you ever faced the endless void? And then I answered yes. And then she's like, yes, of course I have, because I had struggles in my teenage life that equal dying in a submarine and facing the endless void of nothingness for eternity. Like, okay, bitch. But it was kind of basically the ghost didn't want to move on because it was scary. They actually said it was scary.
Mm-hmm.
So now, and then they're just being haunted assholes full of anger, I guess. Like you said, I guess that everything just what gets left behind is just their anger over time. Because, like I said, with that Anna lady, over time they forget who they are. The only thing I think they know is what they felt. Like that's the only thing that's left over.
Right. But at the end of the day, they're not actually dead, which is weird. And for some reason,
they're in a loop.
Yeah,
loop forever.
Somehow in their loop or whatever it is, they're able to possess people in the real world. It's really weird. I don't know. I'm sure there's not an actual explanation for all of it, but going off of the fact, real quick, going off of the fact that they aren't dead, it kind of makes the talking about religion thing pointless. Because I just feel like the whole point of bringing anything like that up is to talk about dead people. If you're talking because that's why that stuff comes up in hauntings and stuff like movies like that. But if there aren't actually dead people, then why are you talking about it?
Yeah, just don't bring it up. It's stupid.
It's just irritating. Anyway,
don't bring it up if you're not going to dive into it and go into something important. If you're just going to bring it up for filler, that's stupid.
Right, because it really stuck out to me. So if you get that line of dialogue, it's just it. Anyway, go on.
I just got, you like Cheetos? No. Well, then fuck you. I like Cheetos. Like, I just got the most fucking stupid, the dumbest dialogue. It was funny. There's the whole beach scene at the beginning where it's like, because of the Alex, her brother dies and she has guilt about it. And Clarissa, who the bitch lady, she's the Karen of the group. She dated her brother, and after she blames Alex for the death. But there's this big scene where there's a couple scenes in this, but this is the first one. They had this big fight, and it was like right when I first really started paying attention, and because they're playing Truth or Slap. Was that it? Like it was like Truth or Dare, but I guess he gets slapped. It was fucking not even funny. So it was such a dumb joke, but I got asked about something, and then I just didn't respond to any of the dialogue. And it just kept going. That's when I realized, oh, you don't have to respond to this shit. And I was just like, oh, yeah, don't say anything. You wouldn't say anything. And they're just getting so shitty. And this girl whose brother died, they're just like being shitty to her. I was like, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah, and piggybacking off of that, remember the fight when you're in the tower?
Yeah.
I don't know if you felt this way, but both times that I listened to that fight, I zoned out for a little bit. And
I got really annoyed.
And I was like, I think they're yelling at each other when nothing happened. I swear to God, nothing bad happened, and they're just like the whoever wrote the story was like, all right, they got to fight now.
Yeah.
And like I couldn't figure out what they were mad about.
Well, who did you pick to go with you? Because you could pick Ren, Jonas, or Nona to go with you after that fight.
The first time I picked Jonas. The second time I picked Nona.
I picked Nona the first time.
Oh.
And I was just like, and then there was like, oh, we have to stay here. And I was like, yeah, because you guys fucking suck. And then I left. My pimp walked down the ladder, and then she climbed for 38 minutes. So he had to put as many ladders as possible. I was like, God, she's so slow.
And then there's that long, windy little path up to the gate.
Oh, at least she runs on that a little bit.
A little bit. Christ.
It sucks because I really like stories about time loops. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Endless. The Endless.
I don't think so.
It's really, I think it's on Netflix. It's really fucking cool. It's about these two brothers who, when they were kids, they escaped like a UFO cult. But when they're older, they go back and they find it's been like 15 years, and they find everyone there looks the same. And then they're like, start to rejoin, and they're hanging out, and they're thinking of staying. But then they found out there's like this eldritch god, like a H.P. Lovecraft god that's created these time loops. So the cult's in like a 15-year time loop or 10-year time loop or something, and then they kill themselves, and then they start over. Well, there's one guy, like there's all these different characters they run into who are in different time loops, and one guy, he's in it for, I forget, like 15 minutes or an hour or something, and he just keeps killing himself, but then he just respawns in the same place, and his like gross body's still there. But there's this one guy that's, I think you should just look this up on YouTube when you get a chance. Just the endless shortest time loop or something like that. There's this guy, he has like an old gramophone, and he's in a tent, and I think his time loop is only like 7 seconds or something, and then he just explodes. Like because if you got a bounds of the time loop, like, because it's almost like think of a bubble, like an unseen bubble, you just explode. And his is just around this little tent because his loop has been so small. So he's just for hundreds of years now, or when, I don't know, when gramophones around 1800s, maybe early 1900s. So at least 100 years, he's just been in this like 7-second loop where he just keeps blowing up over, and you're aware of it too. Like you remember. So it's fucking, just imagine the madness from that. That was one scene that actually like fucked with me. I was like, that is kind of scary. Imagine being stuck in a loop like that.
You said it's a movie, right?
Yeah, it's called The Endless. It's
Okay.
really good.
I'll have to look that up.
Way better than this game.
So you said something about it being Lovecraftian. Are time loops a Lovecraft thing?
I don't think so. I think just this god who was supposed to be like a Lovecraft type of god. You don't see it or anything. It's just it's made it that it's known. But it just likes to fuck with people, so it just creates these loops. And the reason why some people's loops are so small is because they were trying to escape or they did something bad. So, it's a punishment.
Well, interestingly, I don't know if this was on the Steam description or just somewhere on the internet, but when I was looking into this game before we bought it, I read that it's like Lovecraftian. Did you get that at all when you were playing it?
I mean, it is a very analog game. Like, you have a radio, all the technology in the game is supposed to be really old.
And I guess to a degree, like, the Rift things are kind of like cosmic horror in a way. But
other than the time loop, I mean, there's no gods or monsters that you see, just like these possessed people. But Lovecraft, I think, wrote stories about possessed people and stuff that aren't related. I haven't read outside of the Cthulhu mythos.
Yeah,
I haven't read like too many of his actual. I don't know if he had like paranormal stories or thrill. I don't know what other stuff he had, but he has a whole other collection I have that I just haven't got to. So he might have stories set, with possessions and things like that. And
yeah, but like overall, I just didn't get that when I was playing it. I was like, "Where's the Lovecraft stuff coming in?" I know, it's
feel
not
like
literally
Lovecraftian,
but like it. People describe things as Lovecraftian, and you expect something like a certain feeling, and I didn't get that.
Maybe the atmosphere.
Maybe like a little bit, but ultimately, it's not like it's not. The atmosphere.
Imagine if you were on the bluff where it has like that big statue of a guy with binoculars or a telescope or something looking over, and like because like it is a cool looking game. Like it expands, like the camera angle pans out towards the ocean. Just picture that at night, that scene. Like if you're walking up there during like a nighttime scene, and you just see a mist roll in, and you just see some tentacles. Like, that would be cool.
Yeah,
you could make this game fucking cool.
Yeah, they could have made it cool.
But they could have made it real cool.
And I wonder
like
what
Cthulhu monsters.
I wonder what Oxenfree 2 is like. I bet you it's exactly the same.
Probably. I was surprised that they killed people on screen, even though they brought them back immediately. Like at least like one girl jumps out, she's hanging there, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And then you go loop back, and then she's in a window, and she just jumps out to her death. Like, oh shit, she even bounces. You're like, ooh, and then like. But every character that dies, like they get brought back, so there's no stakes. That's what I didn't like about the game. Like I said, no free will and no stakes.
Yeah,
like, it doesn't matter what you do, because if you're in an endless loop, you can just keep doing different things. Like you'll never have consequence.
Yeah, even at the beginning of the game, you understand that Alex's brother drowned. And it's like Clarissa keeps saying it's Alex's fault because, I don't know, I think her brother was going to teach her how to swim or something, and he got stuck or whatever and drowned. And
yeah. Which obviously he was the wrong teacher. He wasn't a very good teacher, was he?
I guess not. We don't know if she knows how to swim now or not.
Didn't say, but he kind of sucks at teaching how to swim. I tell you that.
But so he's dead the whole game.
Dead.
And you do get like a couple flashbacks, or not flashbacks, but like it's like one of those time loop things where your character gets like sent to
the past
and she's hanging out with her brother again and she's confused about how this is happening.
And you sound like a big fucking idiot if you answer any of the questions like, wait a minute, we're in the past, or wait, you're dead. Like what? But the character just acts like, oh, you're silly. Like, what do you mean? She said you're dead. Like, something's wrong with her. Like, that's not how a normal person talks.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, okay, Alex, do you want a soda?
Yeah, you want a sody pop? Yeah, you're not understanding me. You're a rotted corpse buried beneath the ground. Yo, you're funny, but that's a little extreme, don't you think?
Is this about mom and dad?
You know, if you don't want me and Clarissa together, you could just say so.
It's absurd. But if you play the game pristinely like I did my first time, with all the really polite responses, the sensitive responses, the end of the game, your brother ends up. So like you like pass out when you wake up on the boat again, going away from the island, and that's always how the game ends. But if you play it a certain way, you'll wake up and everyone is on the boat, including Alex's brother. And everyone acts like it's normal that he's there, like he was there the whole time. And then so he's just alive now in this like actual timeline. And
what about Clarissa? Was she there or no?
Everybody's there. Everybody's
so got the perfect ending.
Was she dead in yours?
Clarissa? No. I made up with Clarissa. Nona and Ren were dating, and Jonah like went to state college, and I barely talked to him.
Oh, okay. I don't remember. I don't know. My first one, everyone was peaceful with each other. That's all I know. But
I don't even know how he killed or kept the brother dead. I didn't mean to. I didn't know.
I think most of the endings, the brother stays dead. I think the one I got, from what I understand, is the one that people try to get and like can't figure it out. Or I don't know how you
so
could
just
possibly
be nice and then
you
will get
yeah,
it.
basically. Yeah, so he comes back and then that's just like he's just alive again as if he never died. And I endings like that always bother me because it's like when you get like the end of Back to the Future when everything is like way better than his actual life was before.
There was no consequences to your actions, and also everything's better than you ever dreamed it would be.
Yeah, it's like
because real life works just like
there are so many factors to those big changes being made. First of all, he wouldn't. I mean, I don't know. There's too many details to talk about, but life would be impossible to live. Like you wouldn't know anything that's going on. Everything would be substantially different. You couldn't just figure it out in a couple of days.
I think I liked how the butterfly effect handled this type of decision-making storytelling, where it's like, oh, no matter what you do to try to make the best situation for yourself or your family or your loved ones, it's going to have an adverse reaction somewhere down the line. Something's going to be majorly changed. And in that movie, because it's a horror movie, it was always something really bad, and it always just kept getting worse and worse. That's how this game should have went. It should have been like, oh, yeah, you brought your brother back, but Clarissa drowned instead. Like, there should be some kind of, if you save your brother, you kill his girlfriend, something like that. But no, you can have the perfect ending if you want.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that's imperfect about it is that you're still on an endless loop no matter what happens.
I was trying to get the ending where everyone's dead, but I did not get that ending.
That's one of them?
No, I don't think it is, but I was hoping it would be. Like, I was hoping somehow I can get that ending.
Yeah, I didn't look any of the other endings up, but
the game does not let you make too many mistakes really either. Like, for instance, if you're supposed to go one way, sometimes it'll like the character that's with you will just sit there bitching the whole time. We're supposed to be going this way. We have to go this way. Oh, or like if you can't figure out the radio, they just sit there and, no, you have to tune the radio. Are you tuning it? When are you gonna tune it? And I'm just like, God, I'm trying, you fucking whore. Like, shut up, Jonas. Hated that guy. But it kept on going with that. It was like, oh, I can't even fuck off and make any kind of mistake because the game doesn't let me. Because it's idiot proof. The game was too easy. That's the problem. There's no challenge to this game at all. Like, if I really focus, I could have got the fucking everything in one
because
play.
It's not
probably.
a game. It's a book that you walk through instead of turn the page. That's all it is.
Stupid book.
Does that radio technology actually exist? Like radio locks? Is that a real thing?
Probably not.
I wanted to look that up, but I never did.
You know why that's probably not a real thing?
Why?
Because anyone with a radio could just tune into your lock and open it.
Yeah, but let's hold on.
Gonna study this up.
Yep.
Gonna smarten us up a little. Stupid radios.
Well, nothing at all is coming up on the internet, so I'm
What a
guessing,
shock.
Yeah, that it's not a real thing. And my next question is, well, that's a good point, that anyone could just turn the radio on and come into your house.
Yeah, stupid. It's not safe. They even say it was outdated technology in the game.
No, do they? I forgot about that. My next thing is, I don't understand why rotating those tape reels fixes the time loop.
I don't know why it fixes the time loop, and I don't know why it looked like I kept thinking, it was like, is this a sign? Like, it said it was like a record thing or something. It looked like a sign.
Yeah,
and then I had to sit there and fucking spin my finger on my mouse pad, and it was really annoying.
I was wondering how that worked for you, because
it was really hard.
Because for me, I just spun my analog stick. It was
that must have been great. I didn't have that option, and I had to spin it in a perfect circle while holding the mouse in it, and just like holding the click and spinning. It was really stupid. Didn't like it.
Yeah, I just didn't get it. And it did look weird. Like, they called them tape players, I think, but they're like really old tape players. Like what? Like tape. It looked like tape, that like a reel that you would put in an old movie projector.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the point of that was. I don't really care.
Yeah, so like basically, after you get stuck in a time loop, eventually these little things will pop up in your path, and you go up to them, and you like have to manually spin the tape at a certain speed to make the song play correctly. And if it does, there's like a few of them. So like you do it to 3 of these things, and then you'll get out of the time loop. And there's literally no explanation to why that serves any
none.
purpose or help to you escaping this supernatural event. But it's eccentric.
Yeah, it was different.
Can you believe we hit 55 minutes on this conversation?
How?
I don't know.
Like the game, it's going to be an endless loop. That's how you should have did this episode. You should have, the first sentence, you should have somehow...
Welcome to Arcade Bookshop, where we talk about video games and their literary counterparts. Today we're talking about Oxenfree.
No, you would have to be more clever with it. No, you would have to be more clever with it. No, you would have to be more clever with it.
So, my overall takeaway, because I feel like the story wouldn't exist if they didn't have an overall point to it, and because there's no gameplay for real, and it's just a story, in my opinion, there has to they must be implying some kind of metaphor or allegory or something. And honestly, I don't think there's anything very complex in it at all, and it's almost not worth saying. But I think the whole thing is, and I mean, so many things come back to this, but I think the whole point of this story is just another like coming of age theme. And I think really it's a commentary on growing up and deciding whether you want to leave town and salvage the relationships you have with the people that you grew up with. And I think a haunting from your own town's history is a good way to push you out. And if you can defeat and heal the past and move on and figure out your own story, that's coming of age. It's like it's a metaphor for growing up, I think. I don't know if that makes any sense.
I think this game would be better suited, and I'm sure if I went on the Steam community, it probably would reflect that. This would be better for teenagers and young adults because that's clearly the audience for this, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Me who's about to be 37 in a couple months, probably not the ideal game player here. I think, like you said, with the coming of age themes, we're of age. We don't feel these things so much anymore, but I get what you're saying. Like, I think it could have been done better. Like I said, it's very cliche. Like, I've heard this, like that part of the story, I've heard a million times and done better in
For
various
sure.
forms of media.
Yeah.
Like, it was almost just like, hey, how can we? So it was almost like an AI story, honestly, like an AI generated story, not the main story, but all the the brother dying and all that stuff. Like that just seemed like, oh, let's have AI write this part and we'll just come up with the submarine thing. Like,
Yeah. Seriously. And then there's the
it
whole
wasn't very
thing about
creative or original.
there's the whole thing about divorce actually I don't think anybody even got divorced, did they?
No, I think everybody just
Or
died.
no, her parents, Alex's parents, got divorced because her brother died.
They couldn't handle, the
Jonas's
death of-
mom died,
yeah,
and then her dad married Alex's mom.
yeah,
Yeah,
that makes
his dad married her. Yeah, his dad married Alex's.
doesn't matter.
It
Nobody
doesn't
cares.
matter.
Nobody gives a shit.
Nope.
Well, let me ask you this, Bryce.
Yep.
Would you recommend buying this game for $2 and playing it?
$2, I would recommend it. The 14 or 19 that it goes for, I would not. But and going back to you being in your 30s and
I thought you were gonna go back to me fucking being very upset that you made me play this stupid game, and I'll never forgive you for this.
No, the people that I listened to that were talking about this, I think were in their 30s. And granted,
really
the one guy he wasn't like all about it, but the girl that was talking about it was like, oh my god, I love this game so much. I'm so glad there's an Oxenfree too. And I was like, well, I mean, she's enjoying it. Other people must. So it
does seem women enjoy this game a lot more.
Oh,
just
does
from,
it?
like on the Steam community, just like going through seeing who was like raving about it, and even on the playthroughs, I watched some playthroughs to see what it was like, and there was a lot of female gamers that seemed to really enjoy the game. So maybe that hit again. Well, honestly, I mean, think of like CW shows. This kind of hits on that note, This is one of those, for whatever reason, a lot of American women, even when they're pushing their 40s and maybe even older, I don't know the demographic, but even older women seem to gravitate towards like the YA stuff, which is what this would be in my, if I had to categorize it.
Yeah, it would be that. I wonder why that is.
I don't know. It's like murder shows and YA. Like I said, my wife is always watching these dramatic shows where everyone's fighting and arguing, and there's always constant drama and 5 different stories going on. And that, I don't know why, but that stuff just really pisses me off. Like, I can't sit there and watch it. I hate just like the drama. I'm just always like, just figure it out. Like, why are you fighting? Stop being stupid. Like, I don't know. I just can't deal with the constant drama for no reason on those shows.
Yeah.
Call me old school, but I like me some Gilmore Girls where it's a lot of fast talking and wit.
I love Gilmore Girls. I never finished it. We were watching it last year leading up to our wedding, and then we kind of just dropped off of it. Yeah, we gotta get through it.
That was one of those shows when there was drama, it actually meant something because usually there was a build up to it.
Yeah,
like there was a reason for the drama. It wasn't just the drama wasn't to push the narrative. The drama is what was the finale of the narrative, like where the narrative reaches as a good story would be told. You don't just blah blah blah. We're fighting. That's the story. We're just always fighting. No, it's like, oh, here's what's leading up to the big fight. The fight's the climax. The fight is what you have to overcome. The fight is what you need to have to happen so you can rekindle whatever feelings were there before or give up on them or anything like that. So I like those kind of storytelling shows, but and games as well, I guess. But games like this where it's just like all drama and people talking. Well, I didn't even get too much drama in mine because all my decisions were just like, yeah, cool, brother, whatever. I was just sarcastic and mean.
Just like you are in real life.
I try to be.
You accomplish it.
So what book are we reading for this? To go along with this masterpiece of a game centered around young kids.
Incidentally, you mentioned how it's like a CW show. And next episode, we're going to be discussing what we decided for the purposes of the podcast was Oxenfree's literary counterpart, Riverdale, Volume 1.
Why'd you sound like a hillbilly the second time?
Riverdale. We're going down to Riverdale.
They're not. They're like from Minnesota or something. Riverdale.
The graphic novel prequel to the Riverdale TV series on CW. I don't know how long that show will be because that volume didn't have as much in it as I thought it would have. But we'll talk about that in the show.
And I will read it 5 minutes before airing. Before we record, I mean.
Much like you did for this episode.
Yeah, I'll be very prepared with my very detailed notes on Riverdale.
Alrighty.
To be fair, you picked the game that I hated, and I picked the book that I imagine you didn't care for. Which I have not. I didn't read the book. I bought the book for my wife because she was watching the show like a year or two ago. And I was like, oh, you might like the book. I never read the book. I never thought I would have to. Oh, the cruel joke is on me.
Well, I hope you have plenty to say about it, because we'll talk about that next episode.
Maybe the whole thing will be an allegory for abortion or something, and we can go into a very detailed and controversial debate on such topics.
God,
or
I
it'll
hope
be
so.
very surface level like Oxenfree was.
Either way, we got something to talk about. So, if you're enjoying the show, be sure to follow or subscribe, and be sure to check out our Instagram page. God, I'm going full hick.
What is happening over here? I don't understand. Instagram. That then there gram on the Insta.
You don't know this, but that's how I naturally talk, and whenever we're hanging out, I have to hold back.
I'm just going to go down to ye old tractor pool after this.
Let's try that again. If you're enjoying the show, be sure to follow or subscribe, and be sure to check out our Instagram page at Arcade_Bookshop for our playing and reading schedule and all the other fun stuff we say, so you can play and read along with us and understand what the hell we're talking about. You can also find the schedule in our show notes. If you have any game and book pairing recommendations, we'd love to hear them. Sometimes it's really hard to stick a book and a game together, or even if you have a poem or a comic or anything like that that goes well with a video game, let us know. You can email us at arcadebookshop@gmail.com or message us at arcade_bookshop on Instagram to let us know your great ideas. Let's not forget Caleb and his life outside of this podcast.
If you want to listen to my other podcast, where I will not be subjecting you to the likes of Oxenfree or Riverdale, that is the Drunken Pen Writing Podcast. You could find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and I hate saying it, X. Not Twitter anymore, just X. That's at DPW Podcast. You can also follow me at, you don't need to follow my account, but you can follow my website, calebjamesk.com, where I will keep you updated on my dwindling publishing history, and hopefully some good news will come out eventually. And then maybe by the time this episode's, I'll be like a Pulitzer winner. I don't know. I don't know when this is going to air, so maybe by then we'll both be highly successful.
Hey, we're getting there. It was like our first real serious year of writing and sending out and stuff. So.
Hey, we both got, well, like I said, I don't know when this episode's going to air, but in October we both got a print book coming out.
Right.
So that's cool. We're in an anthology together again.
Yeah. Alrighty. Thank you everyone so much for listening. We really appreciate it. I think we're getting better at this. So if you want to keep on listening and send in your comments and reviews and, all that stuff our way, we really appreciate it. So thank you again so much for listening. As always, Don't forget to stick a controller in one hand and a book in the other.